All righty. Hey, everybody. We are live here on Facebook tonight. Welcome, everyone. While we are waiting for everybody to get set up and jump on our Facebook Live tonight, let me quickly introduce everybody. Tonight, I've got Luke Dyer here, and I've got Thomas Ross with me, as well as Taylor Redfern. And by the way, I am Melissa Haley, the broker of North Texas Top Team Realtors. So Thomas is a mortgage lender with Citibank. Thank you for being here tonight, Thomas.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Citibank is a small local Texas bank, right? And I
Yes, ma'am.
understand you've been in real estate for almost 2 years. So tell us a little bit.
Yes, ma'am. Happy to be here. Happy to share some of my financing knowledge.
And while we wait for his internet to connect, let me introduce Luke Dyer. So Luke is here with me tonight, and he is an awesome realtor at North Texas Top Team Realtors. And he grew up in the DFW area. You've been helping homebuyers for about 2 years. Is that right, Luke?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. I'm happy to be on here with you guys and hopefully just share some helpful knowledge to help the potential home buyers I know that are out there get a good head start in this crazy market right now.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being here. And Thomas, I'm sorry, right when you started talking, you just sort of stopped. Come back and tell us a little bit. Say hi and whatever you were going to tell us. We lost you.
Yeah, my apologies. Just saying hi. Happy to be here. Happy to share some of my financing knowledge to hopefully help some people get in some new homes.
Oh, thank you so much. We super appreciate it. And then I also have Taylor Redfern here, and y'all, Taylor, that's my right-hand girl right there. I could not survive without Taylor. She's a licensed agent and she helps me run the office, and she's helping me with the Zoom tonight. So super appreciate you, Taylor. And thank you for moderating the chat for us. Make sure to help us answer any questions that we might get at the end of the night. And then also, just FYI for everybody, we will be posting a link for you to get some free information at the end of the night. So stick with us. We've got a link so you can request some free information from us as we are moving forward. So anyway, thank you very much, Taylor, for joining us tonight. We appreciate you. She's just giving us the thumbs up. She's all good. All right. Well, so while we're waiting for everybody to join in tonight, let's just briefly chat about a few of the home buying myths that I hear from time to time. Thomas, here's the first one. Do you have to have 20% saved for a down payment?
No, Melissa, you don't. That's definitely a myth. There's loads of loan options and programs available so that you can spend less out of pocket than that. I'll go more in detail later in the evening.
Yeah, I didn't think that was true, but sometimes I hear that people just think they have to have 20% down, and that's just really, it's just not true. All right, well, so great news on that. So how about this one? Sometimes I hear people say, well, it's just okay, right, for me to start shopping for homes with or without a realtor for that matter, even before you get pre-approved for a mortgage. Luke, what do you say to that?
That is not something that I would recommend doing. I've had clients where before they reached out to me, they spent days driving themselves around the entire DFW Metroplex looking for homes that they saw on Realtor.com or Zillow to find the home that they loved. And when they finally found it, they reached out and we were pretty much saddened to find out that they weren't able to qualify for as much as the home they found was listed for. And it caused a lot of heartbreak and stress. So getting pre-approved in advance is definitely something I've found that helps avoid a lot of that unnecessary stress for sure.
Yeah, heartbreak and stress. When you said that, I was like, yeah, I think I'd be more than heartbreak and stress. I would be peeved. So yeah, so I totally get that. So definitely a myth there. So for those of you who are just getting logged in right now, we're just getting ready to start. Don't forget, at the end of the night, we are going to share some information with you. We're going to provide you with a link so that you can get some free information that we want to give to you if you're thinking about buying a house. So let's see. So today I have with me, if you missed the introductions a minute ago, I have Luke Dyer with me from North Texas Top Team. I have Thomas Ross from Citibank, and they're both with us. So Thomas, thanks so much for being here.
Of course. Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully help some people tonight, learn about the home buying process and maybe some options for them to pay little to no money to get into their first home.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're hoping for tonight, is to get really good information from you guys about how to move forward with buying a house. And Luke, thanks so much again for being here with us. We really, really appreciate you participating with us tonight and sharing all of your awesome knowledge.
Thanks. Happy to be here with you guys.
Absolutely. So today, let's see what I've got here. All right. So today we're going to talk about how to buy a house without spending any money out of pocket. Like, that's really the topic of the day. And I know everybody really wants to hear about this, because at the end of the day, like we said a minute ago, a lot of people have this myth that you really have to have 20% down to get started in the home buying process. And we determined that's just not true. So let's get started with this conversation about buying a house without spending any money, or at least the minimal amount possible out of your pocket. So I think the first question that, generally speaking, people are going to ask is going to be, I'm going to direct it towards you, Thomas. Is it really possible to buy a house with little to no money down?
Yeah, Melissa, it's definitely possible. It obviously depends on your specific situation, but some of the avenues that I would suggest for borrowers is potentially a VA loan, a USDA loan, or even some down payment assistance programs from the government. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like there's lots of options. So tell us about tell us about VA loans. That was the first one you mentioned, right? Was VA loans.
Yes, ma'am. So a VA loan is a benefit that we give to veterans or current serving members of the U.S. military forces. And it's potentially a 100% financed home, which means you have zero down payment out of your pocket. It's also awesome because, well, most loans that are under 20% down payment have what's called private mortgage insurance, or PMI. A VA loan has no PMI on it. And you can use a VA loan on a single family residence, or even up to a quadplex. You can do duplex, triplex, or quadplex for a VA loan.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that you could do VA loans on all of those different kinds of products, but God bless the guys that are out there that are serving our country, guys and gals, and they deserve that benefit, right?
They sure
They
do.
really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us that information. So the other one that you mentioned a second ago was USDA loans. So tell me a little bit about USDA loans. How does that work for a zero or low down?
Sure. Yeah. So a USDA loan is a subsidized loan from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It is an option to have 100% financing again, so zero down payment for you. You do have to be in a rural area that's approved by the USDA. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to have to live on a farm or a ranch or something like that, but it does mean that, it's more of a rural area. It's not going to be an urban center. And you can find those areas on their website that qualify. Some rules for it. It does have to be a single family residence. It does have to be your primary residence. It also does have PMI, or private mortgage insurance, but it's a lot lower than other programs. So it's a very affordable product.
Wow, that is cool information. Okay, so I love what you said. I don't have to live on the farm,
Right. Yeah, you definitely do.
but I can't probably live in downtown either, right?
Not going to work. Yeah.
Not going to work. Okay, so rural development out towards the country, smaller communities, but that's a lot of times where a lot of the growth is. So I think that this is potentially a really good option for folks that are buying a little farther out into the suburbs, it sounds like.
Definitely.
So, all right, well, great. Well, sounds like, since there's some great options, may not be available in every situation though, but still great options. So let's just say somebody says, okay, y'all, now that I know I've got some options, I think I'm interested in buying a house. So Luke, I'm gonna ask you next. How would somebody get started if they said, they raised their hand and said, I think I'm interested. I want to buy a house. What do they need to do, Luke?
Right. So first step, as cliche as I know it probably sounds, really is to reach out to a realtor or a real estate agent that you trust. We're going to be able to point you in the right direction to avoid unnecessary stressful situations like I was talking about earlier, that can come up from things such as inaccurate information that you might find from other sites like Zillow or Realtor.com.
Okay. All right. Well, so Luke, since it sounds like it's maybe not the best option, you've mentioned it a couple of times. Don't go searching on your own, people. Since you've mentioned that a few times, what do you recommend to home buyers? What's the best way for them to find a house, or to find the house for them?
Right. So what we do for our clients is, after the initial conversation, gathering all the important information like the must-haves of their new home, we set them up on automatic searches from the MLS, which is a regulated website by TREC that only us realtors have access to, and it provides the most accurate information that there is. Once you have that list, you can look through those. And if once my clients find the ones they like, we can schedule private tours for the buyers to go walk through the homes themselves. So they don't have to rely on catching the right day at an open house and also having multiple other families walk through at the same time. So
Yeah.
we can do that for them.
So getting an actual private tour, not just popping in at an open house.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that sounds good. So I think that that'd be very helpful information for a home buyer. So thanks for sharing that, Luke. We appreciate it. So, all right, so let me kind of get this done here in my head. So buyer's pre-approved. They've talked to Thomas. Buyer met with you, Luke, for example. They saw some houses. They saw them online. You took them to see the private tours. What happens next, Luke? What happens after we've seen the houses and we found the one we like?
Right. So after you found the one you like and you're ready to make an offer on it, I provide my clients with comparable sales information, as well as help them work with their lender to put together the best offer that fits their specific needs. And then as their agent, I submit that offer along with any other additional addendum that may need to go with the contract to the seller and their listing agent, and then help with any negotiations that have to take place afterwards.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, so I'm sure that our viewers are already learning a lot today. I mean, we haven't even been on very long, but we've got lots of great information. So the next question I have is going to be for Thomas. Thomas, I know there's a rumor out there that people have to pay that 20% down. We already said that that's a myth. What can you share about what other options are available besides zero down, like the VA and USDA, but also outside of a 20% down loan? What other options are available?
Sure. So there's a few options. Number one, we have conventional loans. So these are your traditional loans. They can go as low as 3% down, depending on your specific situation, or 5% down. It totally depends. Now, when you're doing those lower down payments, the only kind of catch is that you do have that PMI added on, and that's to cover the extra risk for the lender. And then also, you're usually required to take a short home ownership course. It's usually around 3 hours on the computer. And that's usually a beneficial thing to you because it does teach you how to keep up with your house, how to pay your bills on time, things like that. Another option we have is a government subsidized loan called the FHA loan. That is a 3.5% down option. It also has PMI on it, but it also has higher income allowance, so it's easier to qualify for those loans. So those are some other low down payment options we have.
Okay, awesome. So we've got options from 0 to 3.5, all the way up to 20, but certainly you don't need 20% down. All right. Well, so knowing that we have all of these different options, so how does somebody get approved when they don't have as much money? Whatever that looks like with their little to no money down, what do we do? What is the step? If I said I need to get pre-approved, what do I do?
Sure. So the first thing I want you to do is call me. Let's have a conversation and let's hear about your situation. I'm always going to direct you towards the program that fits your situation best, because I want you to get in a home, and I also want it to be a financially responsible decision for you to get in that home. I do have some other options, such as down payment assistance through the Texas State Affordable Housing Commission. And so with that, we can even get you some free money with your loans, between 3 to 5% of the loan amount. And as long as you live in that house for 3 years, that is free cash given to you from this commission. And that's another way to, either cover your closing costs or cover some of that down payment for you.
So let me ask you one more question regarding this down payment assistance. If maybe I'm getting that USDA loan, so I'm not putting any money down, and then maybe I qualify for this down payment assistance, are you telling me that would cover and offset some of my closing costs, so I really and truly could buy a house with little or maybe even no money out of pocket?
You could actually get to zero. We know once we crunch the numbers, we may get to that point, because this down payment assistance, while it is called down payment assistance, can be used towards closing costs as well. So if you have an overage on one of the other loans, or if you are using a 0% down loan, we may get to that point to where there's zero out of your pocket and you're getting a brand new house for yourself.
Oh man. Okay. I'm sure that is a good welcome comment from you to everybody listening today. So I love it that there's a lot of options available. Even it sounds like if they're not a first-time home buyer, that other folks can qualify. So I do have another question about how all this works, because I know that when you first get under contract, you've got to write a few checks for a few things right away. So Luke, can you talk to that? Because again, if I'm thinking I'm not spending any money, but I have to write a couple of checks, I need some details on how that might look.
Yes, so that is correct. So after we've gone and looked at some homes, you found the one you liked, we've made an offer, and the offer has gotten accepted. The first line of business will be delivering your earnest and option fees. Your earnest money will be somewhere in the thousands of dollars, and it's there to represent the buyer's good faith, as well as show that they're ready, willing, and able to purchase the home. Your option fee is going to be somewhere in the hundreds of dollars, and this fee is in place to allow the buyers a period of time to perform certain due diligence on the property and allows the right to terminate the contract and receive the earnest money back as long as it's done before the deadline set in that option period.
Okay, so I may need to pay a couple of things up front, but I might be able to get refunded that maybe back at closing because I've got that down payment assistance. Okay.
Exactly. And the earnest money that you do put up in the front eventually goes towards the closing costs and down payment as well.
Awesome. Okay, that is great information. All right, so I know there's some other costs that are associated with buying a house, right? We've talked a little bit about earnest money and option fees. We talked a little bit about down payment and how we can get those covered, but there was a little mention that there were some closing costs. So can both of you guys give us some information about what are the closing costs that a buyer needs to be aware of? Thomas, do you mind starting?
Sure. So there's actually quite a few closing costs, and I want to preface all of this by saying once you're in this process, we're advocates for you. We want you to be knowledgeable of what you're signing. So if you ever have questions about these closing costs, once you're going through the process, we're going to explain them to you again. So first off, lender fees. So those are fees to your lender. Generally, like for me, it's Citibank. You can also have an appraisal fee. So you're going to pay for an appraisal on the property. A third-party professional appraiser is going to value the property to make sure that it's worth what we're paying for it. Another thing is title fees. So what title fees do is they ensure that you are actually the sole owner of that property once you bought it, that no one else has ownership rights to it. Usually the sellers will pay these, but in the current market climate, it kind of depends. It's a negotiating point that Luke will walk you through once you get to that point. Some other things we have, if you're lower than 20% down, we do have to escrow your taxes and insurance. That just means that you're going to pay them monthly instead of yearly. And we do need a small reserve for that once you close. So there's just a couple month buffer that we put in those accounts just to make sure it never goes below zero. Another thing, we will collect 12 months of your homeowner's insurance prepaid. So the first year is prepaid. And then the final thing that we generally do is a survey fee. And a survey is just going to make sure that the property lines that you're agreeing to buy are, exactly what you're aware of as far as how much property you'll own once you complete the transaction. Also, Luke, would you mind telling them about the fees associated with the realtors in the transaction?
Zero. So that's actually a really good question because I don't think a lot of people realize this. As a buyer's agent, the services that my clients receive from me are paid for by the sellers of the home that they end up purchasing. So there's absolutely no cost associated with having a professional realtor assist you purchasing a home.
Wow, y'all, this is great information. Thank you so much for sharing all of y'all's knowledge tonight. I know that everybody who's watching and listening appreciates all of this good information. So let me just kind of keep asking a few more questions that I have. If I was a buyer and I was going through all this, these would be some of the questions I would be asking. So Luke, what happens after the buyer gets under contract? We've paid all of these fees. We're under contract. Like, what's the next step? I haven't gotten my keys to my house yet. When do I get my keys? How does that happen? What goes next?
Right. So there are a lot of things that go next in between you getting your keys. But after we've delivered your earnest and option monies, the very next thing we'll do is we'll schedule inspections for our clients. We'll meet them there as well as the inspector at the home to go over the report with them in person. And from there, we'll negotiate any repairs with the sellers that we may want them to do. And all of that is ideally done within the time frame of that option period that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, that would definitely want to be my next step. Get it inspected, make sure that it's exactly what I thought it was when I walked in the door. I agree with that. All right, well, so now I know some people may have heard that this is a crazy real estate market, and it is. And they may be concerned about getting an appraisal, and they may have even heard some horror stories from their friends or other, coworkers or somebody that's, bought a house recently. So talking about the appraisal, Luke, can you explain the various situations that might arise during the appraisal process?
Yes, so you are correct. These appraisals are a very controversial topic right now, but not all appraisal reports are bad. So there's basically three outcomes that could happen. First, the appraisal could come in high. That means the house is essentially worth more than what you're paying for it. Second is the appraisal can come in right at the sales price, that's always good news, right? And then lastly, the appraisal value could come in low. And since this will be kind of more your realm, Thomas, do you want to talk about a little what happens when an appraisal comes in low?
Sure. So as a lender, we can only lend money on the professional appraised value from the appraiser. And so if it comes in low, meaning your purchase price was higher than the appraised value, that difference is going to have to be covered in cash. Now, this can be paid for by the buyer or the seller, but someone's going to have to make up the difference for the transaction to close. Luke, are there any other appraisal points you want to bring up in this market?
No, I think we've covered pretty much all I wanted to there. But I know it's a lot of information, but long story short, as a realtor, it's my job to give my clients the most information possible so that they can make the best informed decisions for themselves.
Yeah, you know what, y'all, I agree. This is a lot of information. And as a home buyer, it's very overwhelming. Right now, I'm feeling overwhelmed listening to all of the information that you guys have. So no wonder people need a realtor when they're trying to buy a house. They need somebody to hold their hand and guide them through it. So if you want more information about the home buying process or how you can buy a house with little or no money down, don't forget that we're going to have a link for you at the end of our presentation today that's going to share, we'll share with you some free information about how you can buy a house with little to no money down. So just if you're listening in, make sure that that you look for that link and that you fill it out so that we can get you some good information. So Luke, what other things does a realtor do that helps the home buyer through the process?
Yeah, so what don't we do? Essentially, I'd like to think of us as kind of the glue that holds together all the different moving pieces. It's my job to talk to my client, the lender, the title company, and also the other agent to make sure that the whole process is going smoothly and it's on track to meet all the critical dates that are in the contract. This is why I think it's important that we work with people that we trust will take good care of our clients. Like we always recommend mortgage lenders to our buyers, even though they can use anyone that they like, because we know how important smooth communication is to get the deal completed as seamlessly as possible for our buyers.
Yeah, we want to make sure we get them all the way to the closing table, and it could fall apart if we don't have a knowledgeable mortgage person on the other end. I agree with that. Now, since the realtor handles all of this stuff for and with the buyer, I mean, this is a lot of stuff. They certainly are a valuable part of the process, and I love it that they don't have an extra cost that the seller's going to pay that realtor fee, which is great. But if someone's watching today and they're thinking about buying a home, what can they do to be best prepared to move forward with a purchase? Thomas, what would you say to that? What would your answer be?
So number one, I would say make sure you get pre-approved before actually viewing homes for sale. And then second, make sure you get a really good realtor like Luke, who's going to guide you through the process step by step.
Awesome. All right. So pre-approval, get a realtor, get a lender, get pre-approved, and then we're on our way.
Yes,
all right. Well, so what are some tips that you might have for home buyers if they're getting pre-approved? If that's one of the very first things, Thomas, what would you tell me if you were giving me some tips?
Sure. So first off, give me a call. I'm available anytime, and I'd love to walk through it with you. So some things we're going to need to have sorted out is, your down payment. If there is a down payment involved with the loan program you're going to use, we need to figure out where those funds are coming from, whether it's savings you have or a gift from mom and dad. I will say that if it is a gift from mom and dad, make sure you don't move the funds around before you speak to your lender, because you need to make sure that it's all documented correctly to where we can use those funds. Another thing is make sure that those funds are in a safe place. So don't, I'm not a financial advisor, but I wouldn't say throw it in cryptocurrency or the stock market or go gamble it in Vegas, right? Put them in a savings account and make sure it's there when you need it. And another thing I would say to urge to you to do not change your job before you get a mortgage. You need to be a consistent employment situation. So just hang tight. I know, maybe you have a great opportunity, just hang tight, close the home first. And then the final thing is, your credit score. Make sure your credit's in shape. We can get you qualified, and the higher your credit score is, generally, the better your interest rate's going to be on your loan.
All right. Well, good information. I love it that you said, just don't go gamble it in Vegas. I was thinking this was a great idea. I don't know. Just saying. All right. Well, before we keep going, I do have a question from somebody who's watching us today, from Alex. Thanks for joining us today. And he put in, or Alex puts in, theoretically, if the Texas payment assistance goes toward closing costs, does that include the earnest money up front, or is it a reimbursement type situation? And it's going to be reimbursed. Am I right, Thomas? Will you talk to us a little bit about that?
Right. So you're still going to have to cut a check for that earnest money. The down payment assistance isn't going to come through until we close the loan. So, and at that point, you may end up buying a home and you're getting paid back that money at the closing table. So you're walking away with keys and some cash in your pocket.
Oh, nice. Okay. So just as an example, if I wrote $1,000 check for my earnest money, and then by the time it all flushes out and all I needed to really bring to closing was $0, you're telling me that on closing day, I'm going to sign a stack of papers, get my key, and get my $1,000 back?
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly
right.
So great. That could offset my moving costs. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
All right. Well, I love that. All right. Well, so a second ago, when you were talking about putting our money in savings, you were talking about not gambling it away in Vegas and trying to play the odds. You mentioned, your credit score, and that we would want to work on our credit score. So do you have any tips for us? What do I need to be doing to help increase my credit score, to make sure my credit score is where I need it? I don't even know what my credit score needs to be.
Sure. So the most important thing is that you're paying whatever credit cards or loans you currently have open, you're paying them on time every month. We're not getting late fees or late charges, because that does decrease your score. So pay things on time. Another thing that I would suggest is try and get some different credit lines open. So say maybe you just have a couple credit cards. You're actually going to be better off if you have, say, a credit card and a car loan, because the credit bureaus do see that as favorable if you have different types of credit that you're paying on time. Some other tips is, I would always speak before opening new credit if you're trying to close on a home soon. So, some people like a new car with their new house, or they want to buy their sofa before they get the house closed. And I'd always suggest just hold off, wait a little bit, wait till closing, and then open those new lines afterwards. Because if your credit does drop partway through the process, it can cause some issues. If you're not in a spot where you can buy right now because of your credit, we're going to get you to a spot that you can buy. So always give me a call, give Luke a call, and we're going to put you in the right direction. We're going to set a plan for you to get to that spot. We do have credit repair companies available that we can refer you to, and they know exactly what they're doing. They know how to get you in a spot to qualify for a home loan.
Got it. Yep, that's good info. Okay, so I'm a little disappointed that I can't go out and buy my couch today, because I need to buy it now before closing so that they can deliver it the day after closing, right? But you're telling me it's a bad idea.
You may have to wait a week. I'm sorry.
Wait a week. Okay, good to know. I'll just bring my old couch for now. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for all the information. Thank you so much for all the tips. It sounds like you guys both really know what it takes to get a home buyer into a new house. And it also sounds like you guys are both very much invested in your buyers really being educated about the process, what to expect, that you're going to be there for them. I think that's super important. So let me just see if there are any other questions that we might have from the Facebook Live tonight. Taylor, do we have anything else that we need to address?
I do have one question from Alex Ross. So his question is, theoretically, if the Texas payment assistance, he's talking about down payment assistance, goes towards the closing costs, does that include the earnest money up front, or is it a reimbursement type of situation? Great question. Great question.
Okay. All right. So Thomas, do you have any other thoughts on that? I know we kind of mentioned it a minute ago, but is there anything else that you'd like to share one more time, just to make sure that we're all clear on all of that?
Sure. So yeah, I just want to reiterate, you will be writing that check for the earnest money, but if it is covered by that down payment assistance, let's say we get to that magic zero and you don't owe anything at closing, it's going to be refunded to you. They'll cut you a check. They'll hand you the keys at the same time.
Okay. All right. I love, love, love that. All right. Luke, did I forget anything that you wanted to share? Because you told me that you were going to hold my hand through earnest money and option fee. You told me you were going to hold my hand through inspections and appraisals. Are you gonna hold my hand at closing? Please tell me you're going to be there with me at closing, because I don't want to sign a giant stack of papers all by myself. I don't know what that stuff says.
Nope, I will be right there next to you at the closing table. That is part of my job. I hold your hand pretty much the whole way through. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of moving pieces, but it's all one step at a time, one conversation at a time.
All right. Well, I appreciate all of y'all's information. All right. So I am going to put something up on the screen share here. Actually, I think Taylor might be putting it up. Actually, no, I think I'm in charge of that, to tell you the truth. Let me see if I've got it right here. Ah, there it is. So guys, thank you so, so much for being here today. I super, super appreciate you guys participating with us. If anybody is watching on our Facebook today and you've had some great information that you've learned, but you want more details, here is how you can reach Luke Dyer, and we've got his phone number up here. Here's how you can reach Thomas Ross. We've got his phone number. And by the way, we said before that we were going to provide you guys with some free information on buying a house with little or no money down. If you will go to the link that's up here, and I think Taylor might have put that in the chat on Facebook as well. If you will click that and give us some information, we will send you some free information about the home buying process. Thank you again, Luke. Thank you again, Thomas. Any last parting words that either of you would like to say? Thomas, anything you want to add?
I'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. That number, send me a text, shoot me a call anytime. I'm available. And yeah, I just love educating people on the home buying process. Thanks for having me, Melissa.
Absolutely. And Luke, anything else you want to say? Any parting words as we're wrapping up our Facebook Live tonight?
Oh, just like he said, thanks for letting me come on here and talk a little bit. And if anyone has any questions, I love talking about real estate. So you'll probably walk away with a lot more information than you even wanted to walk away with. But feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to talk.
Well, I think you guys gave us lots of good information, but Luke, you're kind of making it sound like there's so much more to know.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but that's what we're here for. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm super excited that I've got both of you guys on tonight. You've given all of our folks today some really great information. Taylor, is there anything else that we need? Questions that are in the chat, or were we able to put the link in the chat for everybody so that they can request that free information about buying a house?
Did get the link in the chat. I don't believe we have any other questions, but I clicked on the video, was making noises at me. No other questions, but we did put the link in the chat for you guys. If you have any other questions, please fill that out, and Thomas and Luke will get back to you as soon as possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again so much. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Thomas. And
Thanks, guys.
we will see you guys at the next informational seminar that we might host for you guys soon. So just stay friends with us on Facebook. Watch out for our next opportunity for us to educate you. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thanks. Bye.